This podcast is sponsored by Jace Medical. For 250 years, Americans have valued freedom, independence, and the ability to take care of ourselves and our families. This 4th, Jace Medical is celebrating with a special anniversary offer. Get a Jace case for just $250. The Jace case is a physician-curated emergency supply of critical antibiotics and medications designed to help you prepare for travel disruptions, natural disasters, supply shortages, unexpected emergencies, and more. The freedom to act begins with preparedness. Visit jace.com, that's JASE.com, and claim your $250 Jace case today through July 31st.
Keep your wellness routine going strong all summer. Kachava's new travel packs help you stick to your daily ritual even when you're on the go. Just one packet of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake provides complete nutrition wherever you are, with 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, adaptogens, and more. Simplify your daily ritual. Go to kachava.com and use code FITNESS for 15% off. That's KACHAVA.com, code FITNESS.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
G'day world, this is the Sniper of the Skies, Robbie Eagles, and you are listening to Keeping It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in Barrio the Frogs. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with Chris Samsa from SportOfProWrestling.com. On today's show, we'll review Road to G1 Climax Night 3, have an interview with Chris Charlton, and cover all this news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network and Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts and newsletter over at socialsuplex.com. And if you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. And we are streaming live right now on patreon.com/KI Strong Style. If you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, you can sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. Like I said in the intro, I am joined not by the young boy, joined by Chris Samsa. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm here. I did not expect to be here, but about 3 hours and 25 minutes ago, I got a text from the young boy, and he's like, "Hey, man, any chance you could do the show tonight?"
Bail me out, brother.
Yeah, basically. And I was like, "Who am I, Shingo Takagi?" I was like, "Listen, let me see what I've got going on. We're in a heat dome in Chicago here." So we're in our first big heat wave of the season. It's like 95 degrees outside. The room I'm in currently is about 80 degrees. Like that's just, this is, I don't want to call it a 3 seasons room, but it gets hot when it's hot. So hopefully my audio stays relatively clean. I told Jeremy I do have an air conditioner on behind me. Hopefully, you know, for anything important, I'll try to shut it off. But yeah, I've been just managing a toddler through the heat in through the day today, and we spent a little time outside. But you know, it's tough. This is my little girl's tough to get inside. So, but here I am, 3 hours later, with ice cold takes on the happenings of New Japan Pro Wrestling, but plenty to talk about. So I'm excited to be here. I had myself penciled in for next week's show.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Yeah, so you're down for G1 preview next week?
I can do it again.
All
I think I can settle back up. Yeah,
2 weeks in a row.
I mean, I would hate to miss I think I have a pretty healthy streak going of the official G1 preview.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what you know about me, Jeremy, but I love a streak.
Yeah, I know you.
I love I love a streak. I love a milestone. Plus, I think I'll have something to plug heavy next week.
Ooh.
Well, we all know there will be a contest.
Okay.
The annual G1 contest will come at sportofprowrestling.com, but we cannot launch that until we have the final final competitors, the play-in, which I believe is next Monday morning our time.
Correct. Yeah.
So by the time we talk next week, it'll be live. We will be live. So so everyone out there, start framing your brain. We're gonna have 5 days to get everyone signed up for this thing this year because of just the way the schedule has landed. Probably has something to do with where Forbidden Door landed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we will, it'll be a quick turnaround, but there will be a contest, and I'm glad I'm here tonight to just say that. And just so everyone's ready at some point on Monday, once we know who's in for sure, we will launch the contest and run from there. So I guess I'll be around next week too, but yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So yeah, everybody do what you need to do. Call off work, block out your calendars, be on the lookout for that sportofprowrestling.com is live post, and get going on that next week.
Yeah. Keep an eye on the Discords next Monday. The 6th? Yeah. So and I guess that'll probably be I'll have to return to Twitter to make sure the people
unfortunate
stuck in the Twitter mud make sure that they hear that that the contest is live. But yeah, so that's the plan. I have a beta version, but we're pretty much ready. If I was more confident in my bets of who's going through on those last two, then I would just roll with it and hope. But we don't want to go through that hassle. We don't want that smoke.
Yeah, so we'll get to previewing that show here in a second. Yeah. But I think one of those matches is pretty much a lock. You can probably lock the winner in, but the other one's kind of.
There's one that I'm like, I think it's gonna go that way, but I'm like, I don't know. It's not safe. It's not safe enough. Yeah. I really want it to be safe enough, but it's just not. So, but yeah, we'll talk about it, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then later on in the show, like I said, Chris Charlton's going to be hopping on. It's going to be the first time that we've done this where we're recording live and then somebody jumps in towards the half of the show. So at some point, you guys will see Chris Charlton popping in here, and we'll talk to him about G1 and kind of what he's thinking and getting ready for that. And so in the meantime, we'll cover stuff and try to make sure we fill the time until Chris joins us.
Plenty to talk about, as always.
Yeah. So we'll start back from the Road to G1 Climax 36 Night 3, which took place last Tuesday, which feels like forever ago at this point.
Like I said, ice cold takes, okay?
So this was Tuesday, June 23rd from Corkin Hall, had an attendance of 1,195. The first half of the card wasn't much going on here. So we had Desperado, Yasuda, and Uemura defeating Taisei Nakahara, Togi Makabe, and Toriano. How are you feeling about Young Lions here? We had Yasuda and Taisei Nakahara.
I'm curious what's going on with Yasuda. I feel like he sort of slowed his development down a little bit. I just don't see a lot of huge evolution there. I think maybe waiting for next steps with him. Nakahara, still getting to know him, still getting to know what he's all about and where he's headed. So, love to see the guys getting out there and doing some stuff, especially anytime you can get in there with Togi Makabe, you're having a good time. Cause you you got to do the work.
Right. That's your greatest learning challenge right there.
So it's great learning. So yeah, I mean, and listen, I love Togi Makabe but I love Togi Makabe most in the first match of the night.
Yes. But yeah, I agree with you with Yasuda. I feel like he's been kind of hit or miss for me in his tenure so far. I feel like sometimes he kind of lacks behind the rest of his co-Young Lions, and other times I feel like he shines. And Yeah, this match he was just kind of there, and I feel like they're just kind of waiting for, I don't know, like where he's going on an excursion or kind of what the next step is for him.
Well, and it really felt like he was planting his own seeds there for a little while, with the Mexico and Tiger Mask, and we all know. Maybe we don't all know. His brother's around, right? His brother's around hanging out with Naito and the gang. So what's happening there? Does that mean anything? Is that why we're not all in on him? I don't know. I'm probably overthinking some of that, but it has to be thought of.
Yeah, and he's still using Hiromu's Young Lion music,
right?
That he did with that little mini feud he had with Hiromu before Hiromu left New Japan. So it seems like there's some stuff going on there, but yeah, a lot of kind of interesting talk around him. And
with some of the Young Lions, I often just wonder, like, what's real, right? What's prompted by someone else, and what are they trying to make happen for themselves? And sometimes the stuff they make happen for themselves is stuff that ends up happening, which is great. But yeah, I mean, always take the Young Lion stuff with a grain of salt until they're kind of out of the black trunks, I suppose.
Yeah. And speaking of Young Lions, there's also a new Young Lion at ringside that got briefly shown, freshly shaved head. So looks like we'll be getting some fresh blood here in a little bit.
I keep hearing there's lots of people in that dojo. So I don't, and I think that they're phasing them in, and but I do feel like there's a good chance that we're going to see quite a few moves as the summer goes on here. Yeah, I'm hopeful.
Well, following match, we had United Empire, Great Okan, Jake Lee, Jacob, Austin Young, and Zane J defeating the Goto Revolutionary Army, Hiroki Goto, Tetsuya Matsumoto, Yo, and Ryusuke Taguchi in 10 minutes and 15 seconds. So not really a ton here. You had some guys here in G1, Okan, Jake Lee, Goto. But besides that, just kind of a random 8-man tag here.
Yep, just getting some dudes out there doing the thing. So, I mean, it's nice to see Great Okan show up to work. Always nice.
Yeah. So not much.
It's a match.
Yeah, it was a match.
It was a match that happened.
Yeah. So following that, we had Satoshi Kojima and Shota Umino defeating Hartley Jackson and Roy Oiwa in 10 minutes and 6 seconds. So also Umino, global champion, he's getting ready for G1, and at this point, he was getting ready to fly over for Forbidden Door to face off against Pac. Hartley Jackson not in G1 contention, and Oiwa has a play-in match coming up next week. And we had a question from a user in Discord, Siamese Twin Cobra, says, I'm interested in Oiwa confronting Umino post-match last week. They're not in the same block, though. How does Oiwa go about challenging for the global championship from here?
Well, he walks out from backstage after Umino. It's there's this like sort of, everyone knows that joke, right? Like, oh, all you have to do in New Japan is just walk out after their defense, and then you're the next defense. And like, that's sort of just how wrestling works most of the time.
Yeah.
But then New Japan's this like king of sport, right? So like that doesn't make any sense. He should have to like win some matches and like, work his way into that. And yeah, I guess maybe he's sort of doing that. But yeah, I think there's a lane there. There's obviously a lane to get there. I would love to see that. I would love to see that happen. I want to see this whole generation, ultimately we'll call it an extended generation, right? I would love to see them start just battling each other in top spots, right? Mm-hmm. So, and Oiwa is sort of one of the missing pieces that hasn't really gotten involved a lot outside of he had a run with the Never and in that world, but you want to see them get in with like the real deal big boy belts, right? The IWGP heavyweight titles, both the heavyweight championship and the global heavyweight championship. So I'd be all in on Oiwa getting into that mix, but obviously there was some news that popped up, I guess late last night, early this morning, that Umino has a challenge set up already for next week's show. So Who knows if it's even Umino that it will be holding that title as we go forward.
Yeah, and I like that they plant some seeds here, even if it's not going to be an immediate challenge from Oiwa. I think that he's super talented, and you need to kind of get him going. They're doing a thing where they just kind of wait a while and they let him have good matches, but they don't really fully, give him the push. And I think he's ready. Give him something, and it's going to be very interesting to see if he gets in the G1 or not. So I think he has to get over that hurdle first before he can even think about,
I hope
challenging for the global championship. But yeah, I think he's a guy that can be in that mix, and I'm glad that we're finally in a spot now where the global title is separated from the heavyweight title, because I feel like you can use that global title for a guy like Shota Umino, for Oiwa, for these guys that they're not ready to go with them in the heavyweight title picture, but you can build them that secondary level. I think that it was definitely needed, and I feel like it's been missed most of this year, being tied up with Tsuji.
Well, and also tied up with the global, quote unquote, elements of the global title, right? I mean, that's part of why I love that Umino holds that title right now, is because now it feels like an important New Japan title, not a visitor's title. And I think there's a place for that. I think there's a place for the visitor's title too, or for it to sometimes be that. But I think to establish this title as something that is a stepping stone towards the heavyweight and something that is important to full-time New Japan roster members, I think a full-time New Japan roster member needs to hold it for a little while, and it needs to stay in that mix. And I'm worried about this Umino challenge with Gabe Kidd that's coming up, because it's really tempting to bounce that title back to an outsider. And I don't want to see that. And that's sort of ironic, because I have I hand waved Shota Umino for a long time, but I'm all in on this guy now. I mean, we'll talk about his performance last night at Forbidden Door too, I'm sure, but he has put a lot of pieces together in the last, I don't know, say 6 months. And I'm very excited about Umino right now. And I'm excited for him to hopefully, really be the person that establishes this global title as something that's really important. So, and I think Oiwa could have a big piece in that. I think Uemura could be a big piece to that. I think, I would love to see that title live with this generation in a really important way.
Yeah. And I think you do the whole thing where the guy that has that title, tries to elevate to the heavyweight title level and kind of being like, no, my title is number one. And you kind of build like this rivalry. You don't need to do like a double gold dash thing, but you just have both champions kind of be like, no, my belt's the top belt. And then you kind of create two prizes that people are going after because they see how both champions are holding their title with prestige. Yeah.
Let it headline, the B+ shows.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Or, if you've got another situation where you want to put the heavyweight title on someone like Takeshita, right, who's not always around, then at least you've got that white belt to like tap in and say, hey, like this is the title for the dudes that are here right now, right? And like you can bounce between which one is that. If you want to keep doing, if New Japan wants to keep bringing people in and giving them, real purpose and reason and giving them one of the big titles, even if they're not 100% available to the company and all the touring that they do, you can always kind of flip-flop the role of like, oh, the global champion's always at the show, right? Or he's always in the main event if the heavyweight champion is not necessarily, on the bus, right? So I think it's an important thing to monitor going forward is how often that global title bounces to someone who works for, works mostly for AEW, CMLL, a different company, and is really just flying in for New Japan, because it feels like we're at risk of that happening again. And if that's the case, then that's the case. But I have enjoyed, I like that Umino is holding it right now.
Yeah, and I think if you can get to the point where fans are voting for the global title to main event a show over the heavyweight title, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That means you've heated up a title so much so that it's on the same level as your number one title, and you create another drawing piece to your business.
Yes, and that is good.
Yes.
Believe it or not, that's good.
So after that match, we had House of Torture, Doki, Ren Narita, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Yujiro Takahashi defeating the Unbound Company team of Daiki Nagai, Oscar, Shingo Takagi, and Yota Tsuji by ref stoppage in 8:47. So again, just kind of a match here. Yujiro and Oscar, I guess it was kind of a preview for Yujiro and Oscar for their play-in match. Obviously, Shingo and Tsuji are locked in for G1, and then Narita is locked in, and you got some juniors floating around there.
Gosh, I hope Narita is the only one locked in on that side. He's the only one locked in, but I hope he's the only one that stays locked in.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yep. I don't know. What else do you say? What else do you say about these guys? this particular group of guys.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent in there. And I think, I mean, I'll just say it now. I mean, Yujiro has been putting in a lot of effort this year. And I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about that. I'm a little worried about that.
There's got to be a reason why he's trying so hard, right?
Yeah. You would think. I don't know if what he's trying to do or what, or if it's just a change of heart, or if he's just trying to get paid. But I'm worried. I'm worried, Jeremy. I'm worried.
So after that, we get into the business end of this show. So first, we had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Title #1 contendership 4-way match, aka the Yo Games, and we had Francesco Akira defeating Kosei Vegeta, Master Wato, and Sho in 15 minutes and 35 seconds to become the #1 contender.
I recall this being, and again, this was 6 days ago. Exciting and fun. I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty in tune with New Japan, even if I'm not super public with my New Japan posting these days. I'm still very involved in the New Japan world. I feel like it felt really obvious to me that Akira was going to be the winner here. So I was just sort of waiting for that to happen, or for that to kind of, hit its stride and show itself. And that is eventually what happened. But, otherwise I think 3 and 4-way matches often get sort of, I think there's a bias against them generally in the world of pro wrestling, especially people who like kind of sport-based pro wrestling. I feel like they always deliver better than I think they're going to, or better than their reputation in New Japan. And I think this was no different. Like, I felt like this was high effort from all the, high effort for whatever that looks like for each of these wrestlers. They took it seriously. It meant something. It mattered. There wasn't a lot of disappearing acts and coming back, etc. So that, I found that to be appealing. So I thought it was well done. I like that Akira's taken his title shot. I think that'll be, him and Yo should have a great match. Mm-hmm. I have no qualms about that. That should be really fun. I don't know if that means he's going to win. Though I would also enjoy that.
Yeah, that's kind of part of the reason why I was hesitant last week to go with Francesco Akira as my prediction. I feel like I've been saying Akira for so many things, and he never ends up getting it. And then I was thinking, well, if they are trying to ride this Yo thing, like, I don't think Akira should be losing. Like, if Akira wins, like, I feel like he should beat Yo. And so that's why I kind of defaulted, like, oh, maybe they're just going to do the thing and go with Sho in Cork, and Sho versus Sho. You have Yo win, give him a good first defense, and holds a belt all summer until you heat something up in the fall. But I'm glad they went with Akira. I think Akira, should be in that spotlight, should be in that main event, but I don't really want to see him lose to Yo. So, I mean, we'll talk about that show in a second. But, yeah, I think it's a fresh direction to go with Akira challenging for the title. And pretty much I really enjoyed this match for the most part. Like, I was expecting more shenanigans than there were. But, yeah, there was a lot of back-and-forth action, really well-timed spots. I did get a little bit annoyed towards the end where you had the Doki run in, and there was a ref bump, and they had the the Black Mirror sheet thing, and Doki's getting involved, and then Vegeta's using the sheet, and then finally Akira kind of takes advantage of that whole situation and hits the fireball on Wato to get the win. So if you overlooked the normal House of Torture antics and Doki kind of coming in, this was a pretty enjoyable 4-way match, and I like the work here.
Yeah, I mean, besides Show, you got 3 really good workers in here. So, and then of course Show, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, right? They're gonna do what they're gonna do with House of Torture. So be it. You wait for it. But in a 4-way, at least like they can be begged off quickly.
Yeah.
Or quickly-ish. Yeah. So because there's at least like there's 3 people in the match that are like, no, you gotta go, not just one.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's a positive. So maybe that's why it was a 4-way.
And I gotta say, Sho is he's kind of getting into this evil realm of me where there's little things that they do that pop me.
It's so funny. So funny. Honestly, they're all pretty funny.
Yeah.
If you look at House of Torture as a comedy act, it's so good. And I've been saying this for a long time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're not generally presented that way.
Right. They're supposed to be taken seriously. Yeah.
But if you can trick yourself into believing that House of Torture is a comedy act, it's very funny.
Yeah.
Especially with Evil, and R.I.P. Evil, right? But man, Sho is stepping into that role of just like really outrageous facial expressions and just like, and he's always sort of he's picked up on that as he's gone and as he's gotten less serious and as he's become more accepting of like, this is my life now. This is just what I have to do.
Yeah.
Or what I've chosen. This is the path I've chosen. So yeah, I mean, if you can trick yourself into thinking House of Torture is a comedy act, it's a great time. It really is. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's a cope, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I love when he normally does his whole opening promo thing and runs down everybody. He called Akira an Italian hick. And then he tries to do the thing where he jumps people, but there's 3 other guys and he ends up getting like knocked out. It's like, you idiot, what are you doing?
Well, they're not familiar with the 4-way sitch.
Yeah.
Right? That's good. That's good writing, if you ask me.
Yeah. So yeah, so good stuff there. Francesco Akira locked in the challenging Yo this coming Monday for the junior title. Then semi-main event, we had the first of 2 play-in matches. This would be a B-block play-in match, and we had the never champion Aaron Wolf defeating Yoshihashi in 19 minutes and 45 seconds. Chris, the world has been waiting for a non-House of Torture Aaron Wolf singles match, and we got it here. What did you think of the never champ here?
I loved it so much.
Yes.
I loved it so much, and I loved it for a lot of reasons. I loved it most because it was so clear to me that this, again, I feel very in tune with what's happening in New Japan. I have felt that this was sort of the path for Aaron Wolf all along, right? The first half of the year up through Dominion, he's going to live in the House of Torture vortex, right? He's going to swirl around in there. But you know what? He's going to be in the ring. He's going to be doing a couple singles matches that can be really scripted, really well laid out, really character driven, right? We had to learn who Aaron Wolf was, who he is, what's his role in this company. And a good way to do that with someone who's going to be sort of face of New Japan, face of the Lion Mark, is to put him in there with House of Torture. And honestly, it also makes sense because it allows him to hide his weaknesses a little bit if they existed. I don't know. We never saw. We never had the chance to find out what his weaknesses were. But he got in there and he did some work, and he's probably been in the dojo too. And he's been around wrestling a little bit longer. And he's gotten to see some cool stuff and be near it and be involved and get coached up a little bit. And then they put him in there with Yoshihashi. And we all knew where this was headed, right? I mean, I think it was pretty clear Aaron Wolf was going to be in the G1, right? And Yoshihashi's an easy guy to say like, Yoshihashi's going to be in another G1. I'm sure of it. At some point, Yoshihashi's going to be in another G1. But he's a really easy guy to take out of the G1. And then put back in the G1. And so he had this like sort of plausible, situation where he could have won, especially given that Aaron Wolf, like who knows if he really wasn't ready, they just would have put Yoshihashi in. But I felt like this match was, I mean, I don't know if Yoshihashi put in all the work, if Aaron Wolf put in all the work, if he was just ready, if he knew how to take a match and run with it. The crowd wanted Yoshihashi to win this match.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting, and I wanted to bring that up. Like, is that a bad thing for Aaron Wolf going forward, or is it just that Korakuen crowd where is it a good thing
of Korakuen?
Yeah, is it a good thing because normally they like to cheer the underdog, so that means they see Aaron Wolf as like the shore out favorite to win. So it's actually a good thing that they were cheering for Yoshihashi.
That I think is exactly it. Korakuen crowd loves to cheer the underdog, and Yoshihashi is king of Korakuen, right? Mm-hmm. So. But he could have won, right? I mean, like there was nothing in there. There's nothing in the world that said Yoshihashi wasn't going to win that match, and Aaron Wolf's not in the G1. That was totally a possibility. But I think, I think Yoshihashi was the right guy to put him in there for that type of match because like he's just good enough and knowledgeable enough that he can cover off any mistakes or missed cues or, whatever, however you want to talk about it. Right. And the crowd is going to be into it one way or another. They're going to be into Yoshihashi's path here. So yeah, I mean, I love this booking. I feel like it delivered. I feel like Aaron Wolf, he's not going to have to go 1945 in every G1 match.
Right.
He will have, you can cut an average of at least 5 minutes off of that, if not a little bit more. So I think this was a great showing, and I think it tells us a lot about where Aaron Wolf's at in his development, especially in singles matches, and what we can expect going forward. And I felt like it was very promising. I felt like it was a very promising performance for Aaron Wolf.
Yeah, I was very excited to see how the match went. And like you're right, he's not going to have to go, close to 20 minutes every night, but I think he proved it here that he can. And obviously I don't think they released all the full G1 cards, but maybe he does get a semi-main event and main event in some cities, and then he's kind of proven, he can hang in a 20-minute match with a well-established veteran. And so, I thought he looked really good in the match. A lot of great strikes, some great chop exchanges, and Yoshihashi worked over his knee, kind of playing into the whole, judo guys don't have to worry about their legs kind of story. And I thought he did a great selling of the knee bar there and fighting towards the rope. And then he's been doing a lot of really cool power maneuvers, especially that kind of jumping landslide thing that he's doing, and the angle slam. And he has like this reverse kind of angle slam looking thing too at some points. And so, I thought he looked really good. Ends up getting the triangle choke win. But the Korakuen crowd was rocking. Also, they were leaning a little bit more Yoshihashi, but I feel like they were kind of into both guys. The crowd was super hot for the match. There were some great near falls, and I thought Wolf looked really good. Also, I think there's some still kind of in between things that he will also continue to work on and get better. But overall, I'm like, why are we hiding this dude if this is what he could do?
I don't think that I think they were getting what they knew they could get out of him, and now they have the confidence to get what they weren't sure about. Right? Like that's my perception of it, is like they knew they could get 6 months of Aaron Wolf with House of Torture in semi-important matches, and they knew they could get that. And then you reassess as you go and you see where he's at, you see what the crowd's telling you, right? And I think that I don't know if they were hiding anything, or if they just they wanted to stick to the plan, guy that they feel is going to be very important for them. And now, you've got your never champion, and he's in the G1. You have to assume that whatever happens in the G1 is going to lead to whatever's next with him. So now we roll. I don't know if that means he's the never champion walking into the Tokyo Dome, or if he's, even further elevated past that and he does something interesting, with one of the top IWGPs. But you got to figure he's in the mix for one of the three primary heavyweight championships in over the next now six more months, right? I'm sort of watching his development in seasons, right? So like first season was the first half of the year through Dominion, and now we're going to get G1 back half of the year. Can he draw? Can he draw in singles matches? Can he, do people want to see him wrestle as opposed to just appear? That's a big deal, because that's sustainable. Seeing someone appear in your city or in your town, or especially in Tokyo, like that is going to get worn out. But if people buy into his investment in New Japan, as well as his abilities, then you'll have a big winner on your hands, and then you've got something else to tap into as you go. And I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, and I feel like he's in a really nice block here. He's going to have guys like Hanare and Io Uemura and Callum Newman, Zack Sabre Jr., Shota Umino, Gabe Drilla. Like, he has a lot of really interesting opponents in that B block, and I'm now like super excited and intrigued to see what his G1 is going to look like.
I'm going to be locked in on every Aaron Wolf G1 match.
Yeah, I feel like his matches are all going to be almost watch now.
Yeah, you gotta keep up. That's it. It's gonna, and I think you're right. I think it'll be good. We'll talk a lot more about that next week, I'm sure.
Yeah. We have a question here from Les Commission 7252. So did Yoshihashi make Aaron Wolf look like he's ready to step up in the G1? Also, can you do the Bret Hart scale for Wolf Aaron?
Remind me the Bret Hart scale.
So we do look, mic, work, and it factor, scale of 10 for each of those categories.
I think it factor is like a 9.5.
Yeah.
I think his looks a 10. I mean, he's beefy boy.
Yeah.
But
he's a big boy.
I like it. We need some variety in our wrestlers. Mm-hmm. I'm tired of cut dudes. Like, I mean, trust me. I mean, it's an impressive feat, and I think it's necessary. It's a body, it's a body business. It's a look business. I think a guy like Aaron Wolf, who's like a legitimate fighter, has won an Olympic gold medal in a combat sport. I think he should look the way whatever he wants to look. However he wants to look is fine. The work, I think you got to give it like a 6.5 right now.
Yeah, 6.5 maybe. I mean, after this Yoshihashi match, I'm like 7.
yeah, sure. Teeter it up if you want to. I mean, like, that's all. And wait, what am I missing?
Mike.
Look, it factor. Oh, Mike. He doesn't talk much. He talks a little. When he does, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it seems like he's like pretty funny at times.
It's on point. It's on topic, but I don't know that he could. I want to see a show closer from him. You noticed he was in the semi-main here. Right?
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, he's done a ton of media stuff with Tanahashi, and like when we were at the press conference in Tokyo, like, he got pretty much all the questions during the build up to him and Evil. So clearly, also being a judo Olympic star, he's used to media and press and talking. But I don't know if we fully seen like the charismatic side to that. It's kind of the more reserved, answering media questions.
Yeah. So not applicable there, I think, is what I would say. So we don't quite have enough information to work with there.
Yeah, I guess if we had to, maybe just throw like a 6 on it, just because we don't really know.
Yeah, because he hasn't eaten his tongue yet, so we have that going for us. So yeah, give him an easy 5, easy 6, whatever you want to do with that. So I think he's right where you want him to be. There's a lot of chatter about Aaron Wolf, and what New Japan has done with him, and especially after this match, it flared up again where everyone's talking about, well, if he could do this, why wouldn't you just have him do this? And I'm like, well, maybe he couldn't do this until now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But also, like, maybe they just wanted to give him some time to acclimate to this world. I mean, it's a weird world. So, you want to make sure and without turning him into a young lion, right? Like, that's the other option, is that he's in the first match every night, maybe doing singles with the young lions or dads, right? And that's not fun either. So, he actually drew some money with him, some of the House of Torture programs, and now we roll. So it's exciting.
Yeah, we had a question from MJ saying we're at 1 year of Aaron Wolf in New Japan. How do you rate his first year? And I think maybe he's counting as his official debut when he first showed up. But I would count Wrestle Kingdom as like the beginning.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I saw this question. I was like, they're counting, holding your arm out and telling people how to get to the back, right? And it's like that's not quite it. So, so really, we're at like 6 and a half months. Yeah, halfway through the first rookie year. Yeah, and I think the G1's going to tell us everything we want to know, and I'm hopeful. I'm not committed. I have no stake in the Aaron Wolf game, right? But I would love for it to work out. But I think the G1's going to tell us a lot about what we've got, what we're going to see from him going forward. Yeah. I do think he might need to consider retiring the frog splash, his high fly flow. His first attempt in this match was not great. I think most people should retire the frog splash. It should go the way of Tanahashi. Yeah. Leave it. I think Uemura is doing a pretty good job of his frog splash. Uemura, of course. Yeah. Well, that's my feelings about that man. Right. So outside of that, let's leave it there. Yeah, Wolf. But I would like for his, I'd like for all these guys like shoulders and knees and arms to stay, connected where they're supposed to, and that ain't an easy move to do. Right. Especially as you get bigger. And Aaron Wolf, as discussed, that's a big boy coming down. If he's not coming down right, that's a high fly fall, is what it is. Yeah, it was a high fly belly flop. Oh man. To be fair, some of Tanahashi's towards the end there were also high fly belly flops. So the knees were not. The knees weren't holding them up. No. But I think the first half of the year for him kind of mixed results. Also, wish we could have seen more of what we saw in the Yoshihashi match. But like you said, like we don't really fully know what he could have done outside of being stuck in multi-mans and wrestling Evil and Narita. And Bad Luck Fale. So I'm glad we're at the point we're at now. But like I said, G1's going to be the real test. Also, he passed with flying colors here with Yoshihashi, and he's going to be wrestling just as many talented guys, if not more talented guys, in his block. So I think he's going to be set up for a good second half of the year. So the main event was an A-block play-in match, one half of the Knockout Brothers. The Pro Wrestling High, Yuto Ice, he defeats Taichi 25 minutes and 54 seconds. Taichi, I mean, he's so good. Yuto Ice very good too. I was glad to see. Here's the thing: I knew Yuto Ice could do a singles match because a lot of those Knockout Brother tag matches sort of turn into Yuto Ice singles matches at the end, with seconds. So, I knew that they were going to tap into sort of that pacing, or I hoped that they would tap into that pacing. And I mean, how do you bet against Taichi? This dude, especially in Korakuen in a main event, G1 play-in. I mean, Yoshihashi and Taichi in both of these matches were like the dudes you want in there because A, they could win. And people believe it and want it for that matter. Mm-hmm. And B, if they don't win, they still put in a ton of effort. And they're smart. They're just so smart. And I hate that Yuto Ice won this match, but I love that Yuto Ice won this match, right? I have really mixed feelings about it. Yeah. They didn't have to do this. They didn't have to book it, right? And they didn't have to pull Taichi from the G1 either. But they did, and this, Taichi did what he could do to make sure that that Yuto Ice looked really good here, and that the crowd was into the match, and that's the job. So and it was, I don't know, it was great. It's really, really high energy. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was like big match presentation. Taichi coming out with the all white gear, and woo! I don't know what song he used, but they played like the copyright music and played his normal theme over
whatever music he was using. So I have no idea what he was using, but special entrance. He walked through the aisle from the corking stands down to the ring and everything. And so I mean, he looked like a star, and the crowd was totally into him. And kind of the same thing with the Wolf Yoshihashi match, where they're kind of going for the underdog here, and they really want Taichi to get in there. And it kind of sucks that it had to come down between Ice and Taichi. I would have liked both of them to get in here, but going with, I think, the right move for the future in Yuto Ice. But again, just a very hard-hitting matchup. This man, Yuto Ice, does not like his neck. He took two really nasty, dangerous suplex backdrop drivers, landed right on top of his head. Just nasty looking.
I mean, there was just a lot of that everywhere. I mean, this was very King's Road.
Yes.
This is very King's Road. John Carroll was there, and they mentioned something about the song that Taichi used, but I can't remember what it was. I was talking to them while they were around. Shout out John Carroll. I think just got back from Japan again. But I don't know. There's something. I'm disappointed that Taichi will not be in the G1, but and I, by all accounts, so is he. But it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
That's the role of guys like Yoshihashi and Taichi. I wouldn't have minded either of them being announced as just in the G1. No worries, no problems, but it's great to have those guys on your roster, but you also have to throw them a bone sometimes. And that, what I want to see happen is, somehow Taichi getting involved in the Never title again with Aaron Wolf, because that could be fun, right? Like, if there's a path forward like that, I think that's great. I don't know how you get there, right? There's always a way, but you could do that on the G1 final night or whatever. You just throw them in there.
Like was it all it takes is a walkout.
All it takes is a walkout. It takes Taichi to maybe take a mini turn, right? I don't know. Reconnect with TMDK or something. But yeah, I mean, like that, I think, it's those types of guys that I want to see involved with Aaron Wolf going forward. And he's got a lot of those in the G1, but then past that, could be cool to see someone like Taichi get involved in that. And then again, you're throwing him a bone, something cool to do. But yeah, the all white gear was, I love all white gear, especially when I don't expect there to be blood, right? That's the thing, right? You come out in all white, you're like, oh, he's going to bleed. But this didn't feel like that type of match. So I was just like, oh, he just wants to look good.
Right, yeah. Or yes, because a lot of times, sometimes guys will wear all white if they're going to win. And it's like, oh yeah, here's like their fancy white gear. And so for a second, I was like, big white gear entrance, new theme music. Like, what's going on here? Like renewed push. But that was not the case. And I guess Taichi, he can hold out hope that maybe Newman's shoulder doesn't get fully cleared.
Isn't that how he got in last year?
Yeah, with Goto getting hurt, and then the last chance playing.
Yeah. Oh, that was awesome too.
Yeah.
I don't hope for that because I want to see Callum in there, but I don't want to see Callum in there if his shoulder's disconnected.
Right. Yeah. I'd rather him heal that shoulder because I know shoulder is such a hard thing to get 100%, and there's nagging injuries. I mean, we've seen guys like Vegeta and Sonata be taped up forever from shoulder injuries.
Yeah, and I feel like Ibushi never really recovered from his second shoulder injury. So yeah, upper body stuff in pro wrestling is so important. So are legs, obviously, but like, I don't know. You take a lot of abuse in the shoulders and if there's something wrong with your arms or elbows or hands even. So
yeah, we just saw Jay White come back this past weekend. He's been gone for like 13-14 months with some kind of upper shoulder pec injury or whatever it was. So
yeah, I feel like all we got from the Jay White injury was basically like how they announce hockey injuries. Have you ever seen hockey injuries announced? Mm-mm. It's like I don't know, I'm gonna pull a weird hockey player out. Pavel Bure out, upper body. It's like literally, it's like half body. It's like upper body, lower body. That's it. It's like that's all you get. So, and I feel like that's all we got on the Jay White one. I don't know. Maybe it came out somewhere along the lines. But yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. You're out for a very long time, especially if you need to do some sort of reconstruction. So, and I know, so yeah, yes, I suppose I would anticipate if something were to happen there, you would see a Taichi versus Yoshihashi match maybe this year.
Yeah.
And shoot, you got an extra day. If they can both make it to America, just throw them on the Chicago card, and then they can, take it down from there.
Yeah. We had a question from MJ saying, can you talk about how important guys like Yoshihashi and Taichi are on the roster? I think we kind of touched on it a little bit, but yeah, I think super valuable. And, they're guys where, you can pull a switch at any time and it's believable that they could win and get in G1. And I think for wrestling these young guys, Aaron Wolf and Yuto Ice, and helping them shine and elevating them, I think it's super important to have that kind of clutch veteran like those two guys on your roster.
Yeah, I already sort of broad stroke that, but I mean, like you have to have these guys on your roster, and that's a lot of what it's the role that sometimes former top guys that kind of come down the card end up living in, right? And there aren't that many of the. I mean, there aren't any of those. They're all gone. All the top guys from kind of the ascent of New Japan, or the recent ascent of New Japan, are gone. So like then it's now we're back to these guys doing the work, and they're doing a great job with that, and that should be commended, and hopefully that should pay off for them sometimes. Not all the time though, because they can't just become winners, right? They have to be these middle ground. It's the Ishii role. It's the same thing Ishii did for a very long time. And Ishii did it as this sort of like beloved, legend, but Yoshihashi and Taichi can do it in a way that creates that with the fan base. And I think Taichi's already done. I think maybe they both already done that. They're both sort of already in that lane. And it just hasn't necessarily connected with the Western fans the same way that Ishii did just yet. But I think they're sort of in that same space.
Yeah. So that's it for night 3 of Road to G1 Climax. Next, we're going to talk about Forbidden Door. So we had the AEW, CMLL, NJPW, and Stardom. Forbidden Door yesterday, Sunday, June 28th, from the SAP Center at San Jose. So we had 4 matches here that involved New Japan talent. I figured we'd focus on those, and if there's any other Forbidden Door talks, we can jump in there as well. But on the pre-show, we had one Drilla Maloney defeating Daniel Garcia. I did not see this pre-show match, but I'm glad that they added Garcia on there and that he got the win.
It was good. It was really good. It was high effort. It was pretty straightforward. Wasn't very messy. Drilla did a great job doing getting his showcase. So yeah, it was cool I was glad that match got added. I'm glad Drilla was on this card, especially considering he's not on the Chicago card. It also tells you exactly why the Drilla versus Gabe match is not on the Chicago card. It ain't Drilla.
Yeah.
Drilla, no issue. Drilla working in the US. So, yeah, it was good. This was really a good match. I think, if you got 10 minutes and you want to fire up the YouTube, it's definitely worth watching. He looked like a guy who belonged there. And he's been great for a long time now, but he really did kind of show up for this.
Yeah. And also it's going to play into the whole Gabe storyline, because also Gabe is repping Deaf Riders and the whole thing that happened at Dominion. So that's kind of all linked up here. So yeah, I thought it was an intriguing addition. I'll have to go back and check it out. But yeah, glad that he was on the card and that he got a win there. And so then the main show kicked off. We had a three-way tag match. We had the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, defeating El Sky team of Masquerade Dorada and Mystico and Unbound Company's Shingo, Takagi, and Teton in 17 minutes and 53 seconds.
I'll tell you what, my 27-month-old toddler loved this match. She didn't watch a lot of wrestling, but actually hardly any at all. But put the luchadors in there with the Young Bucks and Shingo. I was like, yeah, hang out for whatever 15 minutes, and she had a great time. She was having a great time. So was I. So with that said, I also had a great time with this match. I thought they did what they needed to do. It was really fun. It was well placed on the card for what, first on the pay-per-view card. But yeah, I mean, it was good. I don't know. I didn't have any issue with it. I was surprised when it came out first. I felt like it went a little long. But I think maybe now is a good time to talk about how well Walker Stewart represented New Japan.
Yeah, he was on the call for most of the night. Yeah,
he was on the call for, a lot of the night, especially with anything New Japan or Stardom. Until things really got all in on the AEW side, I think he was a breath of fresh air on that broadcast. I think he was focused. He sounded great. He knew his role, but also knew when he could jump in on something that was maybe not necessarily attached to Stardom or New Japan. He did such a fantastic job, and he's so good at what he does. New Japan is very lucky to have Walker Stewart, as the main guy on their calls, and I hope people saw that on Forbidden Door, because and he was chatty during this match because a lot of it had to do with New Japan and New Japan history, but throughout the whole night, I just think he did a really, really great job representing New Japan as well as his role with Stardom. So, that's sort of that was my big takeaway from this particular match. As I was watching, I was like, man, Walker's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good, and he can fit in any scenario. And, I think we talked a little bit about him, getting a little goofy during Best of Super Juniors when we were talking about that and stuff. And it's just like, yeah, but that's like a good skill to have too. So, but yeah, he played the straight man mostly during this card, and he did a great job. So, I think,
and he helped fill the gaps. Also, Excalibur is obviously super knowledgeable, but I don't know how much New Japan Excalibur's watching nowadays. And so I think Walker was really good to kind of fill in some of the gaps and some of the title stuff, and kind of talk about Unbound Company a bit. So yeah, he did good. And yeah, I thought this match rocked, and I kind of expected this to open because it's kind of that fun party match. Like, let's get the crowd into the show with the Young Bucks. Can't go wrong with the Young Bucks opening a show. And yeah, I'll see the Mascara Arata and Mystico rocked, as well as Teton and Shingo. So you just had 6 really great guys in there doing cool moves all night. And Shingo, obviously, kind of reverting back to the Power Junior in here. Being the big guy in this match. And, he ate like a quadruple super kick at one point, and he's like bombering everybody at one point. So yeah, I thought he got his stuff in, looked really good. And man, Teton's double stomps are so nasty off the top.
I love Teton so much.
Yes.
He might be my favorite wrestler right now. I will hunt for Teton matches, especially in the New Japan universe too. But this was a very exciting match. So I had a really good time with it, and no surprise who won, right?
Yeah,
no surprise
obviously
that
I think the Bucks are going to be heading to Wembley. I don't know how they fully get there, but I think it's very clear that there is either a Bucks versus Cope and Christian or a 3-way with FTR, maybe TLC kind of thing built for Wembley probably happening.
Yeah. You probably have to do it, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so Bucks look great here. Got the win with the Meltzer driver, and good fun way to open the show. And then directly following that match, we had another Elite member in action. We had the Best Bout Machine, Kenny Omega, defeating the front man, Zack Sabre Jr. in 26 minutes and 25 seconds.
Sure didn't feel like 26 minutes and 25 seconds. It felt shorter than that. I think these guys are so engaging. They're both so good. I asked in a private chat, I was like, is there any chance Zach wins this? I'm not I'm not saying I haven't been paying attention to AEW because I'm just around, but you know, I sort of know what's going on with Kenny and whatnot. But the only thing I really lock in for with AEW is the pay-per-views. I watch them all. I watch them all live generally. So and Dynamite, I'll, you know, sort of listen to all the takes and maybe, you know, maybe I watch a full show. But I dropped in the chat. I was like, is there any chance Zach wins this? And everyone in that chat was sort of like, if Kenny's not going after the title, maybe. And I was like, all right, cool. So there's something. I mean, it's going to tell us something. It told us something. And Zach's not exactly a protected entity in New Japan right now. So it was great to see this match on the card. You know, you can't really bill it as like, a top of the card dream match, but it's dream matchy right now, especially because Zach finally kind of crossed the threshold of being like, you know, a major star in New Japan. And I think they delivered. I think Kenny delivered what he can deliver, and Zach is so good at just, you know, going with whatever someone can do and doing whatever they need him to do. And he's a team player that way. So this was an excellent match. I don't know if it's going to be on your match of the year lists, but I do think it's going to be remembered as something that's, you know, that was largely a positive and, you know, deserving of 26 minutes of bell to bell.
Yeah, I love the match. I went 4.75 on it. I thought
wow, that's high.
Yeah,
I mean, I saw a lot of 4 1/4, 4 1/2. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you're out of range, but okay, carry on.
No, yeah, well, obviously Kenny Omega's like one of my favorite wrestlers ever, and I love Zach, and yeah, I thought that it was a masterpiece, and it was a perfect, almost perfect match for kind of where both guys are at in their careers. And also you got the aging veteran and Kenny still kind of selling the diverticulitis stuff, and obviously not quite as crisp as he once was, but still, you know, laying in the V triggers and some of his dynamic moves. And you have Zach, who, yes, obviously he's known for the technical stuff, but I feel like Zach, if you haven't been paying attention, like he's really up like his striking game, and I think has become more well-rounded, and, you know, he's put some muscle on too while being in New Japan. So I think he's at a totally different level than when they both wrestled each other in 2018 in the G1. And yeah, I'll see a great masterpiece of Zach, you know, trying to tie Kenny up and get him in the hold, but also kind of showing his striking ability. And he's kind of built a little bit of a tougher chin in kayfabe over the years. And yeah, I thought it was a really great complimentary match. And also Kenny can hang with the grappling as well. And so yeah, I thought it was a great display for both guys. And I think, yeah, if you're locked in, it was pretty clear that, yeah, Kenny had to get the win here, because looks like he's, you know, heading to Redemption next month to challenge MJF, and it seems to be all signs pointed to Will versus Kenny in Wembley. But yeah, I thought this was a great matchup and kind of the, you know, the best Forbidden Door option that you could have presented on this card.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. I know. I mean, people love to see Zach on these shows too.
Yeah.
And Zach has sort of been the featured guy for a long time, and, you know, I'm sure part of that's recruiting, right? But he seems happy, so, you know, we don't need to open up that discourse just yet. But yeah, I think it was a cool match to book. I'm glad it happened, and yeah, I think you're probably right. I hope it's Kenny and Will at Wembley. That sounds awesome for everyone who wants it to be.
Yeah. And yeah, I think Zach always delivers on these AEW shows. You know, he's had this match, you know, he wrestled Bryan Danielson, he had the Orange Cassidy match, the Nigel match last year. I feel like he is just kind of the you know, you can always count on him. New Japan guy is going to come out there, get good reactions, have great matches.
Yeah, and he's probably the guy that people are most familiar with at this point.
Yeah, and I love that with this bill, we also got to see Bad Dude Tito on TV a lot, and we got a Kenny Bad Dude Tito match out of this whole program, so that rocked also.
Just the ascension of Bad Dude Tito and Hartley Jackson. Like, if we can, like, if that's the legacy of Zack Sabre Jr., that's enough. And then he does everything else.
Yeah. So then the last New Japan matchup of the night, we had the IWGP Global Heavyweight Title on the line. That's a Roughneck Shota Umino defeated the bastard Pac in 18 minutes and 11 seconds.
This felt like it didn't need 18 minutes, but everything was getting 18 minutes on this card, it felt like. So, totally fine. But also, like, Shota looked great. He looked really good in this match. He looked very comfortable. I didn't think Pac was gonna win, but there was a part of me that was like, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Just like because because Pac's so great. Like he's awesome. But by no means was this a carry job or anything. It was just like two dudes that know how to do it, going out and doing it. And I think, like I said sort of earlier, and I won't beat that drum too hard because I don't want to get too far into it. But I think Umino's pretty good. This dude's got it. He's got it together these days. So I'm feeling good about him, and I'm feeling good about him as the global heavyweight champion.
Yeah, it's a really good match. I agree. It probably could have been a little bit shorter because I did feel like the opening was really slow. Obviously, not that it was bad. Obviously, the work was good, but it just seemed really slow. It's like, all right, like both these guys, I feel like work better when they're kind of going at a faster pace, and also Pac's so dynamic. And we've seen what Umino can do when he's in there with a guy like Ospreay, and he's kind of being forced to kind of wrestle an Ospreay-like pace. And obviously, Pac, I think, can do that pace, but being a heel, Pac likes to kind of slow it down nowadays. But I think once they got going, it was really good. And obviously, the highlight moment of this match was Pac giving Umino the awesome bomb over the top through the table, which was just sickening bump there for Umino. I'm glad he landed okay there, but
that was mind blowing. Just because you're like, all of a sudden you're like, wait, what? Like, thank goodness they did a replay because I was like, wait, what just happened? Like I saw it, I watched it. It was with my own eyes. I saw it happen. I was like, how did they get there?
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. I was holding my son during that. I was like, oh, and I like startled him. I just like was not expecting Pac to just like launch that man over the top rope like that.
My wife was like in the shower or something, and she had just gotten out of the shower. Shower's connected to this room, the shower she was in. And I think she had just gotten out of the shower, and all I said was, what the fuck? And she was like, I hear her like yell out of the shower. She's like, what's wrong? And I was like, oh no, the wrestling, sorry. I was like, but she's like, you never react like that. And I was like, I just like couldn't believe what I had seen.
Yeah, I thought like, Umino just died.
But he nailed that fall pretty good. But yeah. Man, it just came out of nowhere. It was so cool. It was I don't know. I thought that was innovative.
Yeah, it was awesome. Umino gets the win here. It's the second chapter to get the pin on Pac, and then post match we had Jon Moxley in a Marina coming out, and we got the Jon Moxley Umino face off, and they're staring each other down, and then we hear "Go Ace," as President Tanahashi briskly makes his way down to the ring and scares off Jon Moxley, and then he straps up Shota Umino, raises his hand, and we got our yearly Tanahashi Forbidden Door appearance.
Tanahashi could not have been happy about how long that ramp was. He's listen, we all need to take time to heal at some point in our lives. This is Tanahashi's time to heal.
Yeah.
Mostly physically for Tanahashi, some of us in other ways, but yeah. Whew. Yeah. I mean, he's the ace, and he's still got the charisma, the most charisma that I saw all night, but man, he doesn't have to hide it anymore. Yeah. So that must be nice for him.
There's a small part of me that kind of hopes that like him walking as bad as he did was like just a big work. Like, yeah, also I'm sure his scenes are bad, but like I would love if he was just like really hamming it up and like walking so bad, and he walks backstage and he's just like walking normally, like
he's like jumping, yeah, like doing some jump jacks.
Gotta think
like, I'm good.
Make these marks think I'm broken down.
We gotta keep up appearances.
Yeah.
Hey man, worker's got to work, So
Right.
he's going to be a worker his whole life. So if this is all he gets a chance to do, that's what he's going to do. But yeah, no, I mean, I was very confused by that whole thing. Like, are we teasing a Moxley Umino thing? Are we teasing Umino and the Death Riders? Does it all connect back to Gabe? And it feels like it probably all connects back to Gabe because Gabe wasn't there. And then they announced the Gabe match, the Gabe and Umino match, like a couple hours later. Like, obviously, like this was supposed to be that moment, probably. I think so. Like, this was supposed to be the moment where that match becomes necessary or set up, but Gabe can't work in the United States apparently. So it did feel a little disjointed. It's like, what are we doing here? Or do all paths lead to Moxley at the Tokyo Dome and Umino? Something like that. I think that could be interesting too.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. And they did show today on people taking screenshots of the roster page. Under Gabe Kidd's name, he has the Dogs and the Death Riders, so it seems like he's now a member of both factions and is officially a Death Rider.
This man is so confusing.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so with that link up, and also, Umino did wrestle Claudio at Wrestle Dynasty, so now he wrestled Pac, so there's kind of been this slow roll of Umino versus Death Riders, and also now facing Gabe Kidd next week, and with the stare down here, hopefully a big Umino Moxley match was in the works. I loved their title match where Moxley defended against Umino a couple of years ago. I thought that was a great matchup, and I feel like that would be a great, kind of a highlight attraction for Wrestle Kingdom, and a big match for Umino, and hopefully it would be a big win for Umino.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's got to win. So, and I think he's ready for that now, and maybe everyone sees that. So I'm hopeful that was a long-term seed to be planted.
Yeah. We had a few questions here. Rainbow and Slam Pig says, "Are we ready for Shota Umino good actually discourse?" I sure am.
I think I've already started it, and I apologize for that.
Yeah, and the thing with Umino is I feel like he's always been good. He just hadn't always put the pieces together.
Well, he had too many pieces.
Yeah.
like that was it. Like he had too many. He had multiple puzzles that he was putting together all at the same time. And now I think he's become the wrestler that he's going to be. And now he can kind of go back to all those puzzle pieces that he was learning from, all those learning trees he sat under, and maybe, get some W's. I think that would be a nice way for this thing to come full circle over the next, I say year to 18 months.
Yeah. And I feel like the Tokyo Dome main event flop was a big motivator for him to kind of figure things out and get back on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree.
Rich Lattis says, if Shota Umino keeps showing up and getting showcased American matches, does he project as the biggest Japanese star globally of his peers?
He has to, right? I mean, I think that's the role for him. And I think that they set that up in 2019 with Moxley.
Yeah.
And it's finally maybe coming to a head, or maybe it's all been in that orbit though, right? I mean, you had him in there with Moxley, you had him in there with Ospreay. He's been in those. He has stories with all these important guys on that side of the ocean, really. So, yeah, I mean, and I think he already is the biggest star from that generation, at least, among his peers, without question. Maybe you could make a case for Tsuji, but I think Tsuji is the guy for the New Japan fans, and Umino is the guy that has sort of been at least in the discussion, or at least in the mind of everyone since that 2019 run where he followed around Moxley.
Yeah, I think that a lot of current AEW fans were New Japan fans in 2019. I think, and people loved that Shooter storyline. They loved how Moxley kind of carried a Shooter around through that whole G1 and kind of what's developed since then. And to this day, Umino still gets big Shooter chants in the U.S. So yeah, I think that whole thing they did with the 2019 G1, I don't know if they fully planned to be as big as it was going to get, or just kind of happened by chance. But that's been very beneficial for Umino's future and his appearances in the West. And so, yeah, I think from a global standpoint, him being kind of almost taking that Tanahashi role, or even the Ishii role of being the most recognizable, New Japan active guy on the roster on these US shows, is really good for him. And he will kind of be that guy that when Forbidden Door rolls around, I think people are going to be like, yeah, where's Zach and where's Shooter? Those are the guys I want to see.
Yep. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. Even if he's not the biggest star in Japan. And, maybe his trajectory, I think his trajectory is better now than I thought it was going to be right now. But, I think if that's his role, awesome. Eventually it's going to be match quality, right? That brings him up. And I think his match quality is only improving. So I think we're on track. Finally, I think we're finally on track with Shota Umino, where, I am actually excited about a lot of what he's up to.
Yeah. And another question from Rich. He says, what will Tanahashi do with the guitar that Tony Khan gifted him with?
Listen, I'm going to look to my right and my left. Guitars look great hanging on walls. They look best in the hands of someone who wants to play guitar, but they look awesome hanging on a wall. And that guitar is cool. It's an Ibanez Iceman. I asked some questions, right? It's an Ibanez Iceman. It's a nice guitar. It is customized with the, with the New Japan and AEW sort of, X logo. Neat gift, cool guitar. Kind of interesting that Ibanez is a Japanese guitar making company, which is maybe why Tony Khan chose the Ibanez guitar. But interesting to have a guitar built in Japan, probably shipped to the U.S., given to a man who is then going to travel back to Japan with it. So this guitar is a world traveler already. But I don't know. I thought that was clever. I thought it was clever. Mm-hmm. It's a nice enough guitar. It's not like some hoity-toity guitar by any means. It's a manageably purchased guitar for people in the guitar world. But I actually think that was a pretty neat gift, and appropriate. Given Tanahashi and his air guitar, he needs maybe he needs a new hobby. Maybe he's learning how to actually play the six strings. So
yeah, his next appearance, no more air guitar. He's gonna be the real thing.
Just like getting after it. I would pop.
You gotta think, was it also kind of a rib that he's gonna have to now figure out what to do with his luggage of like carrying this?
Well, dude, air travel with a guitar is like panic inducing. It's the worst. It does not feel good. I mean, they'll probably just ship it. If they're all smart and well-to-do about this guitar surviving, they'll just ship it back, with DHL or something. But yeah, traveling with a full-sized instrument is not fun. It's not a good time. I don't recommend it if you can avoid it. I made many friends with flight attendants to ask them if I could put my guitar in their coat closet when I was traveling a lot. So that's the play for anyone who's listening. If you ever need to travel with a guitar, get an early boarding slot. It's actually law that they have to allow musicians to travel with quote unquote small instruments, and a guitar counts as a small instrument if there's room on the plane while that person is boarding. So if you have an early boarding slot, you're always probably going to be in pretty good shape. There's always a chance someone's going to give you a hard time, but it is an actual law that Obama signed into signed as a law at some point. So that's just pro tip. Always ask about the coat closet, because that's your best bet. Otherwise you run the risk of someone jamming their suitcase on your whatever couple $1,000 instrument. So yeah, hopefully not a rip. Hopefully they'll ship that one back. But I thought that was a neat thing.
Yeah.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
A couple questions here from Less Commission 7252 says, should Forbidden Door skip a year or two? Not saying the show is bad, but it doesn't feel necessary for next year, as it gives New Japan time to build up important business for the company and focus heavily on building top stars. So the next time we get a Forbidden Door, we actually get major names in on New Japan's half of the side.
I think the show is still financially positive for New Japan, and I think it keeps New Japan in the conversation with, both the. There's a lot happening near me right now. I don't know if Mike's picking up on that.
Scott Steiner in the background there.
a lot of things happening. I'm very sorry.
You're good.
I think the show's still financially good. I think it keeps New Japan. I think they have to continue to introduce some of these guys to, American and, quote unquote, Western audiences. I think the timing of the show makes it really challenging because, all the New Japan effort and heart and focus is sort of with the G1 already. And it has bounced between post G1 and pre G1. Last year was right after the G1. And they still didn't have Takeshi on the card. Shrug. It's a confusing thing, but I do think it does have value on the New Japan side, and obviously it has value on the AEW side, or else they would just move away from it and do another show on their own. And what I would like to see more is it. I would like for maybe it to be sort of a 3-phased show, and one phase is just New Japan, CMLL, Stardom, and AEW matches just against their own guys. Right. Something that's important to this promotion. Maybe each of those companies just gets one moment to just have a match that makes sense in their own world and storyline. And then, the middle of it can be the mishmash, right? The important stuff for anything that you actually have a chance to build on AEW TV involving, cross promotional stuff. And then you can, back into that, you can put the Owen finals or, whatever's important to AEW, because ultimately they're the ones footing the bill to put on the show. So I would like to see a little bit, more of a strategic approach then, because then, New Japan can just be like, hey, we want to do this G1 qualifier. It's going to be important to our fans. We think your fans will really like it. We'll think the fans in the building would really like it. And it's important. Maybe it could be, in that case, you put Gabe in it or Drilla or whatever, right? Someone that can be around and maybe they get the win, and then people are invested in the G1, right? And I think that, and then in the middle, you've got stuff like Kenny and Zach, and you can have the mid card. You could even have the Young Bucks match and stuff like that. You throw that in the center of the card, and then AEW can take it home with whatever they need to do. So, but I think there's a better way to do Forbidden Door. But that doesn't mean I think it's worth pausing it, because I do think it's still important to show that these companies are all working together in some capacity. And even if it's not the capacity that, one side or the other, particularly the New Japan side wants how they want to be featured.
Yeah. And I think, like you mentioned, first and foremost, it's all about business. So is this show a draw? Yes. Every year Forbidden Door draws people to the building. It does great on pay-per-view, regardless of it not being what, the first couple were. And I think that as long as it continues still well, it's going to continue to happen. And something we mentioned last week, this Forbidden Door brand at this point has become very much like Survivor Series, where, every year Survivor Series does not have the traditional, teams of 5, strive to survive matches. There's not a bunch of 10-man tags anymore. They've changed it up. There's elimination chambers, or there's 3-way title matches. It's not always built on what the brand was known for. And that's kind of what's happened here for Forbidden Door. It's no longer this super huge, kind of super dream match show. Like you got some of that sprinkled in, you got some New Japan, CML, and Stardom sprinkled in, but at the end of the day, it's Forbidden Door is just another name for an AEW pay-per-view, just that you have, some AEW partner guys kind of sprinkled in. And I think that's okay. I think people just need to set their expectations so that this is what the show is going to be like going forward. And also, I think there are some other things they could do. And like also, Takeshita, he's a TV champion. Why not have him defend against an AEW guy? That was a layup right there. And there's small little things like that they can do. But at this point, I don't think people should continue to get hung up on, we want to see, all of our New Japan guys having big singles matches. 'Cause I just don't know if it'll be like that. And plus, this show is always super hard to book just from a logistical standpoint. It seems like every year there is
there's always something.
There's always visa issues. Somebody's injured. Like Newman was reportedly supposed to be in a big match, and all the United Empire stuff on Dynamite was supposed to lead somewhere, and that kind of got scrapped. And Gabe has visa issues, and I think they wanted to do something with Beast Mortos on this show. He's had a visa issue. So look, this show is always super hard to plan for and book for, because you just never know who's going to be hurt or who's going to actually be available with the visa situation. How difficult it is sometimes to get people into the country.
Yeah, and part of that's because it's booked late. We'll say late. That's the nature of U.S. wrestling. This stuff it comes together quick. So if New Japan's not ready, and this year, you would have thought everyone would be generally available, considering they're working in the U.S. in a couple weeks for the prime heavyweight guys. But there's always something. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Gabe. It's surprising that Gabe's the guy who can't come to the U.S. He works there.
Very weird.
I mean, a big piece to the work he does is there. That's very strange. But I mean, strange stuff happens. I mean, this is the America we live in. Strange stuff happens.
Right. And Mark Davis having visa issues all out of nowhere as well. So yeah, it's just, you just never know what's going to happen with the visa issues and getting international talent in, especially guys from Japan. I think it's probably a lot easier to get guys from Mexico over for shows. But yeah, I think it seems very difficult. There's a lot of moving pieces to getting the New Japan guys over. And at the end of the day, like you mentioned, AEW is filling the bill, and AEW has to do what's going to be best for its business. And it seems like the model of, you have a couple big, you have your Kenny Zach, you have your, Shingo Teton in there with El Sky Team and Young Bucks. You sprinkle in those Forbidden Door elements, but then the business end, you're going to have your Swerve versus Ospreay. You're going to have your Death's Door cage match. You're going to have the Bandito Moxley. You're going to have the things that are important to AEW, but also I think be beneficial for pushing that, making it a great show. I mean, at the end of the day, this was an excellent pay-per-view. Like,
it's a good show.
Really can't complain. Like, I don't know what else would have made the show better. Like, if Tsuji was here, would the show have been any better or worse? Like, I don't think so. I think the show was great the way it was. Yeah,
and Tsuji sold it the way only he can. He's like, well, are we going to be in the main event? Nope, I ain't coming. I don't know. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, and yes, that's him turning a storyline out of something that's real, but I don't know. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what you do. It's pro wrestling.
Yeah, and that's how Tony Khan got asked about Tsuji in the post scrum and had good things to say. So I think that's kind of more of a work than people think it is. So,
it's all wrestlers work. Workers work, baby.
Yeah.
And Tsuji's a worker. He might feel some of that. I don't know, but yeah. I mean, that's exactly it. But think about it. Like, Umino showed up, and Umino looked good. So like, there was a lot of stuff to pay attention to on the New Japan side of this show, in generally well featured spots. It wasn't 50-50. It's not like nothing's ever going to be Forbidden Door 1, where it really feels like New Japan's super involved. I would be surprised if we ever get back to that point in this world right now. But I think it was a good show, and I think there was enough for me to be like, oh, I gotta lock in for this because these are my people, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I locked in for that, and then I got to enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah. And a follow-up question, he says, I wouldn't say New Japan came out of Forbidden Door strong, but did it meet your expectation and how you think they would come out after the show? Drilla got an easy win on the buy-in against Dan Garcia. I didn't expect much from Shingo in the three-way as he didn't sign up to do the junior heavyweight crap again. But ZSJ and Shota came out representing their matches great with a strong performance and looking better than ever heading into G1.
I feel like I just answered that.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna rehash. But yeah, that.
Yeah, and I think that, again, people who, I think, the New Japan fans are looking for New Japan to come out looking super strong and super pushed, and I think, they're going to throw some bones. Drilla got a win, Umino got a win, and then you got the big, awesome match with Kenny and Zach. You got to see Shingo and Teton. So I think, for what it was, I thought New Japan was well represented and looked good, and like you said, they knocked it out the park, and then you just got to kind of sit back and watch the rest of the show.
Yeah, and it helps AEW introduce. If I were purely a New Japan fan, I would buy this show, and it would help me decide whether I want to tap into AEW. Like I said, I definitely keep up on AEW. I watch when I can. I watch all the pay-per-views. I've honestly never missed a AEW pay-per-view live.
Yeah, same.
So, in one way or another, there's been times I come in an hour or two late or whatever, but I've always tapped in. I've always bought them. I've always been a big fan. I think they AEW, you don't bet against AEW pay-per-views, and that includes stuff like Forbidden Door, which is, it includes some of my dudes. So that's a bonus to me.
Yeah, and honestly, at heart, I mean, if you look at the roster, you had Will Ospreay, Dave Finlay, Clark Connors, Jay White.
Well, that's sort of the joke, is that like it's also a chance for AEW to feature like the member berries, right? Or they're like, remember these guys? They were your guys.
Yeah.
If you haven't been paying attention. So, and then like, no mistake that Jay White came back on this show, right?
Right. And attacking Finlay, like also
and attacking Finlay, which is that's a New Japan story.
Right. Yeah. They're linked at the hip from New Japan, and also Finlay bumping him out of Bullet Club and all that stuff. So yeah. So I mean, even though maybe current roster guys are not featured heavily, like there is this nod to New Japan and essentially being the foundation of this promotion.
You said it.
Yeah. Similar question from Rambo. So you feel New Japan was represented well at Forbidden Door? If not, what do you think should change in terms of presentation during these shows? Is the concept just not worth it anymore?
Asked and answered.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered that. He also asked, do you worry that Walker Stewart may get poached when he appears on an American pay-per-view? He was the best commentator at the table last night.
I already said my piece on that. I don't worry about that. I wait for that to happen, right? I mean, like,
right,
that feels inevitable. And it feels like it was the reason he took the New Japan job. I don't know that. I'm not speaking for him by any means, but it feels like, this was a job he felt like he could do, and it would be really good for him. And it's like going to Japan to work, right? As a wrestler. You go to Japan to work for a while, and like you work a lot and you get a lot of reps in and you learn a lot, and it is at a high level and it's taken very seriously. And it's really, it's this legitimate thing. It's like truly, it's not independent by any means. It's a big deal. And he took the job, and he's done a lot of work, and he works so hard. This Walker Stewart does not need Chris Samsa notes. I'll tell you that much. Like, I send him, but that man's doing his own research. And every now and then I find something that's really unique, and Walker runs with it. But that dude is so invested in what he does, across the board. I mean, I saw him clutching that MacBook at that table last night, and I was like, I know what's on there, man. That dude's page probably got pages upon pages of notes, because he didn't want to be He didn't want to be left out, and he wanted to be prepared, and he takes this stuff very seriously. So do I worry that Walker Stewart may get poached as he appears on an American pay-per-view? No, I hope for whatever Walker wants, I hope Walker gets, because I do think he is so good at what he does. And I already went on and on about that. And I don't hope that he leaves New Japan by any means, but I hope he gets whatever he wants out of his career, because he's very good at what he does.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, the minute I heard him commentate, I'm like, oh, at some point in his career, for sure, he's going to be an American TV announcer. And also, he lives here, and I think at some point, wrestlers and commentators, at some point, they all want to come back home and have an easier travel schedule and be able to see friends and family. So yeah, I think right now it probably works well for his lifestyle, and he's building experience, and he gets to be, kind of a top player in the commentary game in New Japan and kind of build his resume up. But yeah, I totally expect at some point that AEW or even WWE will want to snag him up. He's super young, so there's no rush. I mean, he could commentate New Japan for like 2, 3, 4 more years before wanting to come back home and try to get a deal in America. But I totally expect at some point that he's definitely going to be in one of the big two. But it's not something I'm worried about. It's just kind of one of those things where, like, enjoy him while he's here, and then if he does go, then good for him.
And it's not the same as a wrestler that you get invested in. Maybe it is. I don't know. It doesn't feel the same as like when the wrestlers make the big jumps, because a lot of those wrestlers were like top dog guys and really felt like they were going to be important to New Japan for a long time. Walker could absolutely be that, but it just, I don't know, for some reason on the English commentary, which is clearly the second most important commentary that happens in New Japan, like, you have to imagine that a guy like Walker's gonna use that as a stepping stone rather than a forever career. But that dude, to me, he's always welcome on my screen, no matter what company he's with. And he's got ties back to Booker T and the WWE system too. So, I mean, I think if anything, I'm mostly curious where he goes next. And like you said, like he's got some time if he wants it. And I think we'd all be happy to have him on the New Japan call for as long as he'll be there.
Yeah. So that wraps up Forbidden Door. So do you have any other thoughts about the card in general?
I think the circle cage is awesome. Like, what a look.
Yeah, that was great.
Clearly they already branded it. We know this thing's going to pop up, more often. But man, when they showed it, I was just like, new cage. It's just like so excited. Yeah. It's like, okay, that's cool. So yeah, and I don't know how you make it any cooler, but man, it was cool to see. It's just cool to see something innovative happening in pro wrestling, and a circular cage around the ring. It's now the circled square.
Right.
It is. I mean, I thought that was neat. And I the only thing I'll remember of the Swerve and Osprey match is how much blood was on Swerve's face.
Oh my gosh, dude, that man was gushing.
I mean, they couldn't have planned that. But happy accident, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I thought the show was excellent. I loved Taro Okada's reactions and his role in the Tekla Starlight Kid match, and that was a great match too.
Yeah, yeah. He was he was better than Harold sitting at ringside. I'll say that much.
Yeah, and Swerve Osprey, excellent main event. So yeah, really great Forbidden Door pay-per-view as expected from AEW. So coming up next Monday, we'll have the Road to G1 Climax 36 Night 6. And the show open up, we'll have Desperado, Yasuda, Taichi, and Uemura taking on the House of Torture, Doki, Rennerita, Sonata, and Sho. Then we'll have Aaron Wolf, Hiroki Goto, Bolton Oleg, and Tatsuya Matsumoto taking on the Unbound Company, Daikin Gai, Shingo, Tsuji, and Yuto Aiso. A great opportunity to see Wolf in a non-House of Torture scenario again. Then we'll have Jado and Tiger Mask taking on Dick Togo and Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Gato and Taiji Ishimori. So kind of a special Tiger Mask matchup here. And then the business end of this card. So we'll have a B block play-in match. The Tokyo Pimps, Yujiro Takahashi, taking on one half of the Knockout Brothers, Oscar. And this was a match I was alluding to earlier that I think we can all pencil in Big Oscar here getting the win over Yujiro.
Oh, this is the one where I was saying I hope. But I think I do. I agree. I think we can pencil in Oscar.
I'm like 99.9% sure we can pencil in Big Snits here.
Oscar really made it sound, if you kept watching after the Corkin earlier this week, Oscar sort of kept talking about going to Chicago or going to America. I think he was talking about the G1 and felt like he was pretty sure, but and it felt a little out of character. Like, hey brother, you're still on the air, but he oh boy, I've got to run in here.
Hey.
Oh, we got to run
Riley.
in. Riley's here. Mwah. Good night. Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, he really made it sound like he was going to be the guy, and I do not really want to see 9 Yujiro matches. But
honestly, I don't know if Yujiro wants to see 9 singles Yujiro matches.
not with the effort he's been putting into his singles this year, but it's not out of the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm very hopeful that Oscar's the winner here. I think that would make for a much better tournament, but I'm not launching this contest until I know for sure, because I don't need that. I just don't. That would change the whole dynamic of the block. So it's one of those things. I don't think the next match is quite that way. I think you could still sort of pencil in certain things in the same way, or at least at the same general level. But Yujiro versus Oscar, I think you've got a whole different approach.
Yeah. And so, the following match, A block playing El Phantasmo, ELP, taking on The Grip, Roy Oiwa. And I think this is probably, out of all the playing matches that we had, probably the most unpredictable. ELP, a longtime veteran, guy that's been in G1s every year since being heavyweight. And then the up-and-coming Oiwa, who was in a G1 last year. And you would think both of these guys would be in the tournament.
You would, yeah. And I unabashedly root for El Phantasmo. He's been very kind to me over the time that I've been doing this, and he's sort of in the orbit of the English speaking PR world, right? So, with that said, Oiwa feels like he should be in the G1. El Phantasmo feels like he's sort of been a staple in the G1 for a little while, and I don't really know what's going on with him, but the booking is what the booking is. So I was a little surprised to see him not included, considering he's been a kind of a core member of the New Japan roster for a long time now. But I think at some point maybe you got to make the call, or maybe there's something going on, and you got to put him in there, or you got to give people a surprise and knock out Oiwa and give people a reason to get behind Oiwa post G1. I don't love that as an idea, but it's an idea. It's an idea that I don't think is out of the question.
Yeah, I think the best thing would be to go with Oiwa, but I think either way they go, it kind of gives some more juice to these playing matches and kind of opens it up to not all of them are going to be as one way as Oscar versus Yujiro. Like, you're going to have guys in there that you hope both guys get in, and I think that adds some emotion and stake. It's like, man, I want to see Taichi, but also I want to see Ice, and so it kind of really ramps up the drama for these matches, and so I think we'll see that here, especially in Corkin with ELP and Oiwa. Interesting to see what the crowd reaction, who they go with there, but I think that both the fans are going to want both guys to be in there, but I think the better call would be to go with Oiwa. I don't think you really hurt ELP. He's been doing a lot of international stuff too lately, so potentially you can kind of have him do some stuff over the summer, kind of come back. And again, he's young enough to where, like, if he stays with New Japan next year, like, he can play in and get back in. I think that's a cool story too, to have guys kind of work their way back in.
Yeah, especially, I mean, El Phantasmo's favorite story is I can't buy a win, right? Like he does this story, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's what's happening. Yeah, I could see it going either way. I think I'd prefer Oiwa to go in. I was surprised that El Phantasmo wasn't just like in the tournament, but they've done a nice job booking these play-ins in a way that, especially at Korakuen, that that I think the crowd's going to be behind ELP.
Yeah,
at least 50-50, at least 50-50.
Yeah.
It's going to be a split, and I think they're probably just going to see how the match goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Oiwa for my prediction here, but I wouldn't be surprised if, maybe ELP finally figured out how to load his boot correctly and hit sudden death.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have the G1 contest loaded and ready to go, and if things play out the way we think they're going to on this last night, I'll just be able to, click go on it. And how I think this will go is Oscar and Oiwa going through. If that's not the case, you can expect the contest to go live probably closer to noon, noon Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. West Coast time, which is where Jeremy Sexton lives. He's the developer that really built that contest. So, but if it goes as planned, I'll be able to just go live immediately following actually that match, and I'll probably be up watching. So I'll try to tap into that. So yeah.
Nice.
So for my sake, everyone should be hoping for Oscar and Oiwa, because otherwise I have to try to wake up Jeremy and Jeremy Sexton and have him do some edits to our contest.
Then following that, like we mentioned earlier, got add to this card IWGP Global Heavyweight Title defense. Umino in his second defense will defend against Gabe Kidd.
Are you worried about this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I
am.
I feel like there's only really two outcomes here. Gabe wins, or there's some kind of double DQ, double count out, some kind of screwy non-finish, because I feel like you lose any juice behind this Gabe storyline. It's already been snake bitten with him getting injured. So I feel like you lose any momentum that story has with him just coming in and losing. But I also feel like Umino losing is not the best option either. I feel like he got this big win with the global title. I feel like you want to establish him with that, unless Josh predicted Umino as winning G1, and also the global picture's been kind of up in flux with Gabe being injured and having to throw Andrade in there, and so maybe Gabe was supposed to be champion this whole time, and this is the way to get back to that, and maybe Umino is going to win G1, and if he is, I guess that's obviously that's a bigger, obviously, feather in the cap for him. But I don't know. I feel like keeping the global on Umino after kind of coronating him would be a better move, I think. But I don't know.
I am excited that Umino holds the Global Heavyweight Championship, because that generally probably means he's not winning the G1, and that opens the door for my man Yuya Uemura.
Yes.
like it's all, for me, it was all about that. If Umino loses this match and loses the title and doesn't win the G1, my head might explode. Like, that won't make any sense to me. Yeah. But it does feel like it could just be a way to put the Umino Kid thing to rest and be done with it. So I'm a little hopeful that that's the case. If not, I think it might be a little bit of a tell. My pick'em might be a little different be a lot different if Umino loses that match.
Yeah. And then main event here, as our guest is going to be joining us here in a minute, IWGP Junior Heavyweight Title match. Yo defends against Francesco Akira.
I'm excited for this. I'm also I love that it's still the main event.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit telling that they want to establish this for Yo. They also want to establish this for Akira as being a big deal over even the global title. So yeah, I'm excited for this. I don't know which I'm pretty 50-50. I think I lean towards Yo getting a defense here, but I like you said earlier, like it doesn't feel like the right place to put Akira into the mix if he's not going to win. But if he wins right now, does anyone remember it by the end of the G1?
Right.
So I do that. That's sort of messy to me too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, like I always predict Akira because I want him to win so badly, and I don't know. I feel like the United Empire, especially with Newman kind of going out, needs another. I mean, I'll say Hanare and Okan, they're double champs right now, but I think to kind of continue their momentum with Newman losing the title and being hurt, it would be nice to give Akira the title, and I feel like he's earned it. Like, and it kind of sucks that he's a heel because he was such a great fiery babyface, but I feel like it's his time. I think a division built around Francisco Akira would be great. Yeah,
and Yo is the perfect candidate to never defend
the
IWGP title. I mean, he lost his chance at that title so many times consecutively before actually finally winning it. He's sort of the perfect guy to just like never defend it, because then that becomes the next story, right? Maybe he wins another challenge down the line, but he's still never defended the title. So
right.
Yo seems like a smart enough guy that he knows he needs to have a story rolling at all times. So I wouldn't mind it, but I would question whether that's the right move to really get Akira up. But I think either way, I think this has the potential to be a really great main event.
Yeah. So that is Road to G1 Climax 36 Night 6 next Monday from Cork and Hall. So we'll be reviewing that show next week. And right now, looks like we have Chris Charlton has joined us, lead New Japan commentator. Chris, how you doing?
All right. I've taken the lead.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And, you were the first guy that we ever interviewed on Keeping It Strong Style. So appreciate that.
Really?
Back in the day. Yeah.
I don't remember that. I'm really sorry about that.
Hey, no, it's all good. Josh and I were just getting started, and we just kind of reached out to you and were like, hey, would you come on the show? And you did. So we appreciate you doing that for us. And you've always been so kind to us anytime we've run into you in person. But yeah, we're so happy to have you on. Unfortunately, Josh couldn't be on tonight. He's in the middle of a crazy move right now. So we've got Chris Samsa filling in for him this week. But Chris Charlton, we're happy to have you on as we head to the road to G1 Climax.
For sure.
And as we get into G1 Climax, Chris, what feels different about this year's G1 compared to recent years?
I mean, I was just thinking before, while we were going back and forth and about, just to sum up this entire G1. And I think like if you look from top to bottom, and I mean kind of over the entire field, right? It's one of the strongest lineups I can remember ever like being involved with from across the entire standpoint. I think like you could maybe go back and pick out this year and pick out like one or two matches from here or one or two guys from this field. But I think like the overall standard in this year's G1 is incredibly high. And I think it speaks to kind of this next, I kind of think we've been talking for a long time about the next step, but here we are in a position where everybody is in place. And now it's about, well, what do you make of it? What's your vision for it? Now you're in charge. Now this whole place is yours. Mm-hmm. How do you make it yours? And what's the shape of that to come? And I think like that's the story for a lot of guys over the course of this G1. You've got a lot of people who have been established at the top, whether it's Suji, you've got, what have you, people like Shota Umino, who's moving into that space. You've got like the outside antagonists like Gabe Kidd, who, you know, I mean, what's going to happen on Monday with the Global Championship? We don't know. And you've got, you know, people like Yuto Ice, who's breaking out at this moment in time. Boltin Oleg's due for a massive breakout. And then you've got someone like Aaron Wolf, who's, a real mystery. It could go either way. And so there's a lot of intrigue, I think, every single night as you go through this next month.
Yeah. And
Chris. Good to hear from you. Can I ask, how does it feel to start the tournament? And I know that you have started the tournament before in the US, but specifically, how does it feel to be starting the tournament in Chicago, a market? And of course, I'm going to be the one that asks this question, but a market that has generally been really good for New Japan, especially in recent years with the Windy City Riots and Tanahashi's last show last year. So can you talk a little bit about, you know, both starting the tournament somewhere other than Japan and also starting it specifically in Chicago?
Yeah, it's great to go out to Chicago and hassle you guys specifically. You know, I mean, it's nice to meet up with you. But yeah, I mean, I kind of, you know, people often compare and contrast like Chicago to being like the Osaka of America when it comes to like, you know, the level of passion that the fans have, the level of knowledge that the fans have. So that's great. You know, I mean, I'm sure like the atmosphere will be great. Obviously, the more people that fill out the building, even better. So we want to shift as many tickets as possible in this last week or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's always, well, I think this will be my third time coming to Chicago, and like it's always like a ton of fun to be there. And you know, I mean, you can tell there's a vibe in the town of how passionate people are. So yeah, it's really exciting, and I think like a lot of the boys as well are really excited about it. You know, for some of them it'll be their first time, certainly wrestling in Chicago, if not wrestling in the US. It'll be, you know, I did media with Aaron Wolf just the other week. We were in the Foreign Correspondents Club, and he had to go over the point that, well, yes, his father's from Ohio, like he's barely ever been to America, and like this will be his first time sort of wrestling in America as well. I know he's really excited. You know, guys like Ice are going to be really excited to be in that Chicago crowd. I get the feeling like Chicago will have a new favorite son in Yuto Ice, I'm sure, by the end of the night as well. So yeah, it's really cool.
Nice. And you know, Chris, I know obviously being a historian that you are, you've seen a lot of different G1 formats, and obviously with you being a commentator the last several years, even in your stint as a commentator, there's been a lot of format changes. And last year we had, you know, top 3 from each block going in. It looks like this year we're back to top 2 going into the semifinal format. What are your thoughts on these kind of format tweaks? Or is there one that you, as a fan or even as a commentator, prefer? I know a lot of fans kind of love the traditional just A1, B1 in the finals. What are your thoughts on these kind of different format tweaks?
I personally, enjoyed like a top 2 advance. Like this sort of format is just about the right balance for me. You know, I think like there's an argument like the playing format the last couple of, or the playoffs rather, the last couple of years have had it like an extra little intrigue to the last day. But I think this way you have a really nice schedule to where we've got everybody in the first night. Gabe notwithstanding, you know, and then you've got A, B pretty much with 1 or 2 exceptions. You've got A block, B block, A block, B block. It's an easy way to understand, pace yourself all the way through the tournament. And then we've got the you know, I think semifinals are really important for a tournament. I really enjoy that kind of format. I do know, like, from a lot of perspectives, there's a lot of arguments to going like A1, B1. You know, because then for as much as anything else, it's a situation where you get down to the last, say you're doing 2 nights in Ryogoku Sumo Hall, you're able to have a card like for the first night, that's the last night of block matches. So I understand sometimes from a promotional perspective, you have that last block night in Ryogoku, and then that sets up the final night. But I think from all sort of perspectives, and as a fan as well, you know, I mean, I think like having that extra semifinal round, and I think it means something to have a final four through. Whereas, you know, it adds a little bit of prestige. Obviously, being in the last two is where you want to be, but having like the top four gives another two people kind of the rub, so to speak, of like, hey, I made it through to the final four. That gives me something extra to go for. And I kind of like as well, you know, I mean, the last few years, at least, we've established this precedent of if you're at the bottom of the table, well, you might have to play in next year. Mm-hmm. So I think that adds, you know, those little things that, you know, I think the you know, not to put words in your mouth, I think the Chris Samsas of this world kind of enjoy, where it's like, oh, hey, you know, we're not just tracking the top, but we're also tracking across the entire league table. You know, I mean, I think that's something to geek out over, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's great, especially as it becomes more established. Like this year feels true, very true to that, especially with the play-ins and including Aaron Wolf in the play-ins. That felt like a shoo-in to me, but I think people were. So there were some people that were surprised to see that if they haven't been paying attention to sort of how the play-ins have been working. So I thought that's been excellent and an excellent draw for these play-in matches, which I think are brilliant to begin with. Speaking of Aaron Wolf, and not to, you know, bet on your answer to this question, but I mean, who do you think is best positioned to have a really great breakout G1?
I wonder whether breakout, because breakout doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go 6-3 and be near like the last day. You know, I mean, I think like there's elements of how guys break out in terms of their individual performances. I think a lot of people sleep on Oscar. Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of he hasn't, you know, being in the tag team. He hasn't shown entirely, you know, or he hasn't been forced into showing entirely what he can do as a singles. And I think like, you know, a lot of people will wake up to how good of a big man he is. Ice, obviously, you know, at least I think is sort of catching on with everybody across Japan. But, you know, I think that the reaction to him in Chicago is going to be something to look out for. And then, you know, I mean, I think this should be the sort of G1 that tips, hopefully, someone like Ryohei Oiwa kind of over the edge in terms of sort of fan acceptance or getting into that sort of next higher gear. And I think there's always something like Oiwa, I think, is always sort of framed in conversation with Kosei Fujita because they came up together. But there's always like, I'm waiting for Oiwa to get the spark that Fujita has. The sort of, you know, I mean, I said it in the Super Junior final, so certainly like those last 2 days. But the sort of big dick energy to me that Kosei Fujita holds. You know, I think Oiwa should hold a little bit more of that swagger. And you know, I hope here being over in A block, so a little bit away from Zach. And having to hold his own against say a Yuto Ice or something like that. You know, I mean, I think like that's probably the spark that he needs over the course of the next month.
Yeah, I think getting a guy like Oiwa in there and getting him, he needs to kind of kick it in that next gear in being in the G1, especially in that block. If he does get in, if he beats ELP, I think that's a good block for him to really kind of test himself and try to find that edge to match that energy of Kosei Fujita.
I mean, and that's the other thing as well of like him having to play in. You know, I mean, it's almost like I mean, I had to sort of say, it might be a given. I think it's the same with Samsa and Aaron Wolf, but like El Phantasmo is like such an intriguing figure there as well, like the other side of that coin. To where, you know, if ELP plays in, he's always had that sort of up and down field over the last couple of years of the G1. He's in a position where he has to win. So that's that position either way. If it's Oiwa that's in there, and it almost feels like a lot of people are assuming, I just assumed it without going deeper into the conversation. But for Phantasmo as well, it's like it's more of an uphill climb. And it's one of those positions where I think a lot of people have been waiting for, can he sort of break through, get up to that next level? And if he couldn't, then what's next? And I think someone that's gone over like quite a few hardships is going to be, that's a really good block to sort of prove yourself against a lot of like former IWGP champions in that.
Yeah. And, I think this year we've seen this theme of the younger generation really kind of, putting their stamp on things and taking over. Also, you go back to Wrestle Kingdom with Tsuji winning the title and eventually bringing back the V4. You had Aaron Wolf and his big debut, Knockout Brothers on fire, and just all these Reiwa guys really coming in and making a name for themselves and wanting to be, the face of the promotion. But out of all of these newer, younger guys that are going to be in the tournament, which one do you think has the most to gain this year in G1?
I think you've got to look at, if I was sort of breaking down guys, if I look at B block and I think who's going to make the final four, I would say Shota and Yuya. And I think like they're, both of those probably are in a position where they need to be at the top of the block, or they feel they need to. At the same time, I kind of look at the other side in A block, and I think this isn't, it isn't a situation where he needs to be the final four, he needs to win the G1, but, Ice is, I kind of think like Ice and Kosei Fujita in the junior sense are both sort of playing off the same vibe or have the same kind of energy where like, I think we're at the cusp of, and I said this like after the Super Junior finals, where Yo and Kosei Fujita felt very much like Tanahashi versus Tenzan, or like a Tanahashi versus Nagata, right? Where in those G1 finals, you had like someone that was trained with Inoki in the dojo, right? Was like, Nagata's maybe more of an Inoki, so to speak, than Tenzan was. But then you had Tanahashi, who was like, I'm coming up and I'm trying to make something new and something different. And here, in this sort of era, you have the Tanahashi, it'll be about the Tanahashyists and Tanahashiism against like somebody else that's trying to break up and do something different. So I think that's where, I definitely get the vibe that Ice wants to do that. And, we'll see whether, I think in the sort of more establishment older guys like El Phantasmo, say, who's, more of a veteran, but at the same time, very much of a Tanahashiist, so to speak, right? You could say Uemura is a younger sort of proponent of Tanahashiism, or has that kind of vibe to him, Shota as well. Or is it going to be somebody, kind of entirely different and of himself? I think that's the sort of balance that's intriguing to me.
Nice. Is there kind of speaking of that, does this G1's field remind you, or is there a feeling around New Japan right now that reminds you of a particular era of New Japan's past, like that we can, we love to look back at the past to see what to expect from the future or a tournament. Is there a vibe on this year's field that reminds you of anything?
I don't know. I think like you could, you can circle certain years and like you look at the sort of transition of 7, 8, 9. I think even if you, say if you look at something like 2008, where it was Makabe and Goto in the final, right? There's a lot of parallels to that to say last year, right? Where, Togi Makabe and like the whole Great Bash Heel era was very like House of Torture is very GBH coded, right? Like it's a very similar sort of vibe and a very sort of similar kind of energy. And I think like that was some of the energy, albeit different to when you had Takeshita facing Evil last year. But then at the same time, I think the G1, as we were talking about with the formats, was so different and has changed so much over the last you really, I mean, I think we've settled into over the last 12, 13, 14 years of like 20 guys and the league format or whatever. But I mean, it's, having this now be a month of matches as opposed to what it was in like 2008, 2009, where it was like 2 weeks in 5 cities, I mean, like it's a very different vibe and very different feel that we have now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, like you mentioned earlier, we have a really great field this year. It's going to be a lot of great matchup. What's the one match that you already have circled as a possible sleeper hit for the tournament this year?
Sleeper hit. I think if you're going to Chicago, I'm really excited to see Aaron and the two Aarons. Aaron Wolf and Henare. Like, I think that is really one of those that I'd really like to see. I think a lot of Henare's matches I'm really intrigued with, actually. Like Henare and Zack Sabre Jr. I mean, that's something that's really intriguing. I sat down, I chatted with Henare last week, and those were the sort of two matches that we really sort of singled out. Especially because I mean, it's one of those styles make fights kind of situation. And, like, you've got grappling versus striking, and someone who could. I mean, Henare could have been in the Commonwealth Games, chose pro wrestling, and Aaron Wolf, who went into Olympics in judo or whatever. So like those contrasting styles, that anticipation, how the Chicago crowd's going to react to Aaron Wolf is really intriguing to me as well. I think they're really sort of going to go hell for leather. And then you've got a lot of Unbound company-ism around A Block this year, right? With Shingo and Tsuji and Yuto Ice, right? All in that same block. So all of those matches are really intriguing. I mean, I think like if you went out and circled individual dates, I might have more dates in B Block that are maybe more to my initial taste that leap off the page to me. But then you've also got, I think, a lot more of the intrigue in A Block. I think typically you have very often we kind of have the match block and then you have the sort of personal intrigue kind of block. And I think like there's, that's the divide that we have this year as well. I think like B Block might have the maybe bigger, better, or more appealing matches on paper. But then A Block, I think there'll be a lot to sort of dive into and a lot to discuss coming out of the G1, especially because the champions in that block as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there, let's say someone, the G1 is a great time for people to dive in and become a fan of New Japan if they're looking for, a different flavor of wrestling to jump in on. Is there one wrestler that you say, really represents what New Japan's all about right now, and that people should really lock in on if they're in that situation, if they're just sort of just dipping their toe in or just trying to get into New Japan? Is there one guy you think is worth following that really tells people what it's all about?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I would say, Yota Tsuji. I mean, he's the champion, right? He's the man.
Yeah, sure.
And, so that's an easy sort of answer to say. And then I think on the B Block side of it, then I would say Shota as well. I mean, I think like both of those together are the kind of, they show, I think, where New Japan Pro Wrestling is right now in terms of the different approaches that they have in the ring, the different philosophies that they have. And I'm sure at some point, it seems to me, I mean, I think a lot of people might have Shota circled as perhaps the G1 winner. I think I would have him at least in the final four to my mind. It feels like a Wrestle Kingdom in event at some point, does it not? Between Shota Umino and Yota Tsuji, whether it's next year or 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line. I mean, I think those are the two sort of guys to really look at and say they represent who New Japan Pro Wrestling is right now.
Nice. And, you've been in the commentary game for a while now, and we always put your commentary over, and, G1, I'm sure, is a beast to prepare for. And so when you're doing commentary for a tournament like this, what do you try to emphasize on commentary that viewers may not always pick up on live?
I mean, like, I think that whatever you do, you've got to find a hook. You've got to find an angle to every match, right? I think there's a lot of, it's easy to just say, well, tournaments are a way to get people to wrestle with one another, and it's the match just because, and like, but I think that sort of whatever a match is, there's always a story to it somewhere. And it's where you sort of dig in and what's my in, and it might be something that they've said backstage, or it might be something that's something we found on Cage Match, or it might be something that Chris tells us, or something like that, right? That just sort of allows an in to get in, because people want to know, the most of all the sort of, who, what, why, when, where, how, those sort of 5-6 question words that people have. The most important question is why, right? Because I need to know as a viewer, why are they here? Why are those two guys fighting? And ultimately, why should I care enough to keep watching, or why should I care enough to buy a ticket? So that's the first sort of thing that I'll look for is, why might this happen? Other than, obviously they're round robin opponents, but what might be the other sort of motivations that get us there? And then you keep a sort of through line to everything that you're doing and everything you talk about. You kind of want to loop back to that reason of why. I used to work in education for quite a long time, right? And they always used to make us sort of think of, okay, if you have a unit, or you have a lesson that you're teaching, or you have something else, right? You always have to keep a theme, and then loop everything or connect everything that you're doing to that theme in some way or form, right?
Yeah.
Connect everything to that goal in some way or form. And that's how things stick in people's heads, and I think that wrestling's not that different in that way.
Yeah, I get that. Well, I guess my big question, who is your pick to win the G1? And but also, who do you think will leave a big mark even if they don't win?
I
know you're on the spot now.
So I just said, I gave the game away of my final four from B block would be Shota and Uemura.
Mm-hmm.
And then A block, it's kind of hard because I wonder, that Oiwa and Phantasmo playing could be really, key. And and it's like I kind of think that if you have Oiwa going in, then he could have a really strong run. If Phantasmo gets in, he could go either or, to the point where I could say LP could maybe be a surprise Final Four entrant, or he could be bottom of the table. Whereas Oiwa, I think, should he get in, would be in that sort of upper mix. But since you sort of eliminate either one of those, then I think it's really difficult. I think I could see maybe Shingo getting into the Final Four. And then I think you would have, who else would I put in that Final Four? So Shingo, and then I need to have like the names in front of me right now. So let's see. You can't discount Tsuji, you can't discount Takeshita. I think I quite like Takeshita. I think you would have Shingo and Takeshita. So Shingo, Takeshita, Uemura, Shota, and then I really like Shota. I would say Uemura.
Even as global champ?
There you go.
Even while holding the white belt, that's a story.
Yeah, Shota could while he's holding the white belt. That is definitely something. We've seen situations like that before. So, you could easily have him go for double gold in that regard. But I just kind of wonder, champion's curse at the end of the day. Right. But I think, you would have Shota get into the Final Four, and then that sort of champion's curse biting him. And I think that would see Uemura getting a run. and winning the thing. So I'm gonna say Uemura, and then if it's a situation where I don't know whether it'll be championship match in Ryogoku in October or whether it goes on to the Tokyo Dome, but I mean Uemura and Tsuji is something that destined to do it forever kind of situation. So I think that on the big stage is going to be the match.
Yeah,
we're lucky we finally have a lot of that coming up. So I think it's going to be a fun run here.
Yeah, and also a lot of history with Uemura and Tsuji, and I think an Uemura Takeshita final could be very intriguing. They have a lot of history, and also we see a lot of times G1 winners or runner-ups from the previous year. Usually they ride that momentum and find themselves back in the finals again another year. So Takeshita going to a finals again could make sense, and then having Uemura be the one to be the New Japan representation in that match to kind of fend off the tri-contract guy, I think could be a compelling story if that shakes out. And another name that we really haven't touched on a lot is Callum Newman. And also I know that there is the shoulder injury that's looming, and as of right now, I know he's still slated for the tournament. He's been announced for Chicago. What are your thoughts about Callum Newman? Do you think there's any chance of him getting pulled, or do you think he's going to go in there, like you said, with one arm and really try to prove something this year?
Yeah, so what I was told was like a rear delt, muscle damage and bleeding on the joint. So it turned into a relatively, I hate to say minor, but certainly significant injury. And I think that's something always you sort of keep an eye on it, because that's something that everybody's going to be working on all the way through over the next month. And then that puts, Callum in a different position to how he's been over the last, certainly since New Japan Cup. I think it's been on a tear, and potentially his position where he has to come up from underneath because, he's having to wrestle around this, this shoulder injury. So that's an interesting prospect to see how he'll be able to get around that. I think certainly it shows Callum's kind of toughness, and Tsuji always used to talk about it, right? Where Callum always seemed to have kind of a low pain threshold. And yet his ability to sort of wrestle in the sort of last stretch of that Dominion main event, result being whatever it was, but being able to gut through that was a sign of how tough he's become. Having had that time with the title, that's a position where, you always have to keep him as a threat. Even though I wouldn't have him in my final four, I think certainly he'll be alive going into the last day, in my opinion. And then you're in a position at some point during that series, whether he beats Shota or whether he beats Gabe, I could see him being neither one of those. And then, I think that could put him in a position for the global title by the end of the year as well. Which, certainly with maybe the Will Ospreay-ness of it all lingering in the back of his mind, that might shift the dynamics of the whole United Empire situation as well. Who knows?
Yeah, and I'm sure there has to be a lot of pressure on him, not only for, coming back from the injury, but like you mentioned, the Will Ospreay kind of elephant in the room, and also Will just winning the main event Forbidden Door last night. He's heading to Wembley, and you got to think Newman sees that, and there kind of seems to be this quiet power struggle between them, and you got to imagine that Newman also wants to head to a stadium main event for a world title. And so, kind of wrapping up here for you, Chris, one more question I had for you. So also, well-known historian, big fan of New Japan. You've been a great commentator. When you're commentating, how do you balance being that historian and that fan and reacting to the moment as you're calling shows and calling a G1 Climax?
I'm going to strap my wank out on. How you have the momentum of a runaway freight train? Thanks very much. Yeah, I mean, I think like I said, I always kind of have in the back of my mind, before I got into working with the company, I would sort of come to shows like once a month or so, right? And like a lot of the times I would come with friends or like guys from work and be like, let's go and watch the wrestling together, right? And it would always be people who were far from hardcore fans. Like some people had never seen wrestling before, right? Some of them had maybe watched a little bit, but nothing much, and that kind of thing. And so I mean, I always kind of feel there is that aspect of when we're on the internet on calling matches. It's really you're talking to a bunch of friends that don't know that aren't as much of wrestling geeks as you are, right? So it just becomes this conversation of like, well, I mean, it's a one-way street, but like expressing what the sort of important aspects of things are, and then moving on from there. I tend to think, I mean, that's a position where Walker has gotten really, really good at, since he came into New Japan, because I think when he first sort of started, that was one of the sort of pieces of feedback that I would give him would be like, he would call everything that was going on in the ring. He would be doing a lot of play-by-play in the first sort of part of the match, right? Where, I think where he's gotten to the point now of knowing where the sort of turn is, and there tends to be a turn, especially in like a big sort of main event setting where we have a sort of opening phase of a match where we have the ability to sort of stretch our legs and kind of talk about motivations and things like that, and sort of weave some of the history into that, if we can. And then as you're sort of getting into and you get a feel of like, especially in a sort of long form main event feel, I mean, there is that sort of point around 10, 12 minutes in where there's just a natural segue into us calling a lot more of the moves and not necessarily speaking about going on massive diatribes about the whys, whens, and wherefores.
Yeah, awesome stuff. And of course, I know you said you give us about 30 minutes, so I want to respect your time and thank you for joining us. But before you go, I know also there's G1 to plug. You want to plug that. If there's anything else that you're working on that you'd like to plug and let our listeners know.
I mean, get an NJPW World subscription. Please do. I mean, I think this is, obviously it's sensational value for your $10 to get every single match of the G1. And I mean, you've got a month of the best wrestling in the world, really pretty much every day, right there at your fingertips. And also, I mean, we do an awful lot of other work there as well. So, I mean, if it's a position where you're in between G1 dates or after the G1, you want to dive into those archives, we've done, really put in a lot of work over the last sort of few months on fleshing out the English content for those archives. So pretty much everything, we're getting there, because it's such a massive Herculean task. But where you are right now, everything from 1973 all the way up to 86, I believe, middle of 86. If you just pick a match from the archives, it will have Walker doing a little English introduction to you. So everything's put into context, and it's not just this random match with commentary that you don't understand, right? There's a little bit of context, and there's like about a minute of that, and then we'll go into like the original audio at the time. So it's things like that, and obviously we have all of this English coverage, live English coverage, or English coverage in post for everything else that goes on. So I mean, we all really do believe in NJPW World, and the best way to get more coverage, the best way to get more archival stuff, the best way to get, if you're a big fan of Gino Gambino or somebody like that, the best way. But I don't know
What's not to like?
We can sort of make a prayer circle and resurrect Lanny Poffo if you want. We can try. But the best way to make that happen is for you to directly help us. And the best way for you to directly help us is to subscribe to NJPW World. So please go out and do that.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, Chris, thanks again for taking some time out to talk to us and talk about G1 Climax. Looking forward to hearing your call all throughout the tournament.
Thanks. Appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in Chicago.
Right.
Yep. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. All right. Well, I think we're pretty much here at a good point to close off the show here. We can come back next week with some of the other off-topic questions that we had and do our big official G1 Climax preview. So, Chris, is there anything you want to plug before we head out of here?
I do not want to plug anything right now, but I want everyone to know I will have lots of things to plug next week.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled, sportofprowrestling.com, at the Chris Samsa on the socials. And if you're in the Social Suplex Discord, the quote-unquote toxic place to be, I'm sure.
Is there lore? Did I miss some lore?
There are some trolls that,
No.
they don't love the Social Suplex and think our Discord is full of, toxic, crazy people and love to.
That's not the one I would describe that way. And I'm gonna leave that hanging out there.
So cool. All right. Well, you'll be back next week. We'll do our big official G1 Climax preview, break it down, talk about scenarios, previews, predictions. We'll have the final playing guys locked in, so it'll be exciting stuff.
Heck yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I love a streak.
Yeah, keep the streak going, baby. We're not gonna break the streak here. All right.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so next week we'll be back to review that final Road to G1 show and preview G1 Climax and cover all this news. Remember, if you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign up at patreon.com/KIStrongstyle. You can also make a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media on X and Blue Sky. Follow us at KIStrongstyle, at socialsuplex, at Jeremy L. Donovan, and at YB_Josh and Liger on Facebook. Follow us at facebook.com/socialsuplex and the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group. On Reddit, I'm the Black Guy, just Keeping Strong Style. On YouTube, we're at Social Suplex, and you can join our Social Suplex Discord server to interact with us and other wrestling fans. And you can email me at jeremy@socialsuplex.com and check out all the shows that we have here on the network. One Nation Radio with Rich and James, All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin, Imps AEW Adventure, Wrestling Art with Chris Slings, the AEW Match Guide with Cersei and Brown, Tone Talk with Allie and Leah, the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast, and Joshying Around with Tim and Eric. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
G-Bon?
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.